Hold up, Tafadzwa.
Hi, Miriam. I haven't seen you since high school. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? That's quite the load of books you got carrying there.
That's great to hear. I'm good too. It's been a long time. Yes, these are the publications from the National Human Rights Commission.
What are they about?
They are about bodily autonomy and bodily integrity, and the role of national human rights institutions in the protection and promotion of such rights.
I've never heard of that before. Do you mind explaining? The two terms kind of sound the same.
Not at all. They may sound familiar, but these are powerful terms in their own right. Bodily autonomy is essentially the freedom to make your own decisions in relation to your body. It is the ability to exercise complete agency over your body, free from external interference, social or legal sanctions, coercion, violence, and discrimination. Examples of your bodily autonomy being violated include denial of access to contraception, safe abortions, laws that criminalize same-sex, and the restriction of the number of children one can have.
Oh, that's interesting. My cousin, who is in university, recently faced a violation of her bodily autonomy when she went to the clinic and was denied access to contraception, and the nurse shouted that she is too young to be taking contraceptives, which led to the community knowing her private information. This caused her immense embarrassment.
I'm glad you understand that. It's more like what happened during high school when Zama was forced to marry an old man without her consent. Her family denied her the freedom to make her own choice and pursue her dreams. Bodily integrity, on the other hand, is the right not to have your body touched or physically interfered with without your consent, referring to one's physical inviolability. This includes the right to be free from physical assaults, rape, violence, torture, medical or other experimentation, compelled eugenic or social sterilization, and cruel or degrading treatment or punishment. A good example of a violation of bodily integrity that I know of happened to my neighbor's intersex child. The doctors at the hospital pressured my neighbor and her husband to make a decision about sex assignment surgery.
That's terrible! But I'm so glad you shared this information with me, as I know these are major social issues that exist in the world, but I feel I was lacking the vocabulary to explain it.
It's baffling how often this happens to people. The failure to protect bodily autonomy and integrity has massive implications beyond the profound harms to the most vulnerable individuals in society, including adolescent girls and young women, people with disabilities, the LGBTQIA+, sex workers, and people in impoverished communities. It can potentially depress economic productivity, undercutting skills, and resulting in extra costs to healthcare and judicial systems.
You've given me a lot to think about, Tafadzwa. Perhaps we can meet for coffee sometime and you can share some more information with me.
Absolutely. We will definitely catch up soon. I have to be on my way though. I have to prepare for another important webinar with Jabu. You are more than welcome to join our webinar on the roles of national human rights institutions, otherwise known as NHRIs. I will email you the link as soon as I am home.
I would love to. I've learned so much already and I can't wait to learn more. Bye for now.
Today, we will begin by looking at national human rights institutions in their efforts to promote and protect bodily autonomy and integrity in the scape of sexual reproductive health and rights. Let's begin with the definitions and objectives.
It's lovely to be here. I'm very passionate about bodily autonomy and integrity. Let's get into it. NHRIs are independent bodies with a broad constitutional or legal mandate to protect and promote human rights in their respective countries. Their functions include assisting individuals through handling public complaints or offering legal assistance, monitoring the human rights situation in communities, advising government and parliament to ensure that they comply with international human rights norms, reporting to international human rights mechanisms, and promoting a culture of rights through human rights education and awareness raising.
Yes, Jabu, the NHRI's primary objective is to promote and protect human rights for all and hold people or institutions accountable for such violations.
Please allow me to share my screen to showcase the wonderful work of some of the NHRIs in East and Southern Africa, starting with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. This commission has produced several reports highlighting the plight of vulnerable and unserved populations in relation to bodily autonomy and integrity violations in Kenya. These include reports on the following: Realizing Sexual and Reproductive Health Rights in Kenya, a Myth or a Reality, Equal and Dignity in Rights, Promoting the Rights of Intersex Persons in Kenya. The Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights partnered with government, parliamentarians, policymakers, community leaders, and civil society stakeholders to hold a community dialogue aimed at understanding the root causes of the increase in unsafe abortions. The high rates of unsafe abortions contributed significantly to maternal mortality rates. As a result, a report of the community and policy dialogue detailing the state of unsafe abortions was produced.
Yes, that is a great example from Kenya. Another good example is that of the 2016 hyena case in south of Malawi, who was arrested for sleeping with 104 women and girls in his community. In Malawi, there's a traditional practice of sexual initiation of adolescent girls, which involves paying a man, also known as a hyena, to sleep with women who are widowed or adolescent girls to cleanse them of evil spirits. This practice puts adolescent girls and women at risk of contracting HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. It also violates women's rights to bodily autonomy and integrity. The Malawi Human Rights Commission condemned and called for the end of such practices due to their harmful nature. They also recognized the need to address the issue at a community level through conducting trainings that were based on human rights approaches to ending harmful cultural practices such as child marriages, sexual rites of passage, and cleansing practices that are harmful to girls and women.
That's why it is important to talk about the national human rights institutions and the role they play in the promotion and protection of the rights to bodily autonomy and integrity, as independent bodies that can help the state meet their human rights obligations under international law. Well, the Namibian Ombudsman is a great example of this. They brought together key stakeholders including government, faith-based organizations, civil society, academia, and the LGBTQIA+ community to discuss and develop a proposal for greater inclusion and representation of the LGBTQIA+ community in service provision plans, particularly those relating to health and education. These efforts will enable the country to achieve their sustainable development goals. In addition to public awareness and dialogue, some human rights commissions have gone a step further with their accountability mandate by conducting inquiries or even engaging in strategic litigation to promote the rights of bodily autonomy and integrity.
Indeed, it is also important that we view health with an intersectional approach, to be able to recognize the multidimensional overlapping factors such as race, class, income, education, age, ability, sexual orientation, social status, ethnicity, and geography. That can be grounds for discrimination and barriers to accessing services, and in turn, violation of human rights.
And oftentimes, people don't have access to the knowledge about their rights and lack the resources that can enable them to access the knowledge. Access to information is a critical first step to protecting the rights to bodily autonomy and integrity. This is why it's important that learners in schools have access to comprehensive sexuality education, where they can learn about their rights and know the institutions that exist to protect them from rights violations. CSE is one of the most important aspects of sexual and reproductive health that the NHRIs have a huge role to play in this advocacy.
Exactly. We need to make it easier for people in need of knowing this information. Fortunately, we live in an age where resources are easier to access.
And the good news, a step in the right direction of change, is that there are organizations that can be reached online to help with these issues.
That's right, Jabu. In fact, our homework for today is to go to the ARASA website and check out more information on bodily autonomy and integrity. There is a comment in the chat box from Marion. I'm so happy to have learned so much about bodily autonomy and integrity and what NHRIs do. Several women living with HIV in my community undergo forced sterilization from our local hospital. Many of them cannot have children anymore within their marriage. Can this be a matter that can be taken up by the NHRI in my country?
Fantastic question, Miriam. Yes, this is a gross violation of the reproductive rights of women. This matter should indeed be reported to the Human Rights Commission officers in your area.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you everyone for your time. Jabu, I really look forward to our next meeting.
Until next time.